Thank you for tuning in again. On Monday, the Earth recorded its hottest day ever on record. And throughout the past month, we've had to deal with extremely poor air quality due to wildfires in Canada. What is often missing in the national reporting is that these are direct incidents of the result of climate change. And if we don't start making real and significant steps, we're going to experience increased frequency and intensity of severe and destructive weather, wildfires, and more poor air quality days. We've embarked on one of the most aggressive climate action plans anywhere in this country, with the goal of 80% reduction in greenhouse gases by 2027 and 100% by 2035. I appreciated Governor Moore's support. Here he is talking about our comments.
This is a time where we continue to see that Montgomery County is going to lead. And it is truly, as you were saying earlier, there are certain places that they are right now in the process of debating what progress looks like. They're in the process of figuring out, well, how do we get there? And then there's Montgomery County who says, we'll see you at the finish line.
We know we only control actions in our county, but there's a lot we're doing, and we'd like to continue to be a model for the state and nationally. One of the sectors we're looking at is transportation. Why transportation? Because as the chart shows, transportation is a huge factor in emissions. The orange areas of this graphic that account for the reductions we need to make in transportation sectors in order for us to meet our goals. Within transportation, we have two targets we're focusing on. We need to electrify our vehicles, the county vehicles, transit vehicles, as well as people's personal vehicles. This also includes the use of hydrogen as a fuel source. We also need to get more cars off the road with more robust public transit and policies that support mass transit and support appropriate telework. We're using experiences from the pandemic to help us improve our telework policies and our transit. Our Department of Transportation is currently undertaking a comprehensive review of our county's bus network called Ride On Reimagined. They are reviewing the county's existing and planned transit system and recommending system-wide changes to ride-on and Metro bus service. There will be both in-person and virtual public meetings scheduled in September. I encourage all those who use our bus service, as well as those who are mass transit advocates, to participate in these meetings. We're also working on continuing our build-out of bus rapid transit, high-capacity express commuter, and as well as local and micro-transit routes. We're about to unveil new dedicated bus lanes on University Boulevard. The new Great Seneca Transit Network is currently in planning stages that will launch next summer, and we're currently installing, upgrading, and expanding our transit lanes and traffic signals. Recently, we launched a new app, the Ride On Trip Planner app, that will help riders pick the route that best fits their travel plans, know the exact time the next bus will arrive, get step-by-step directions on how to get to their destinations after getting off the bus, and also be notified when it's time to get off the bus, so they don't have to worry about missing a stop. Please consider downloading this app at the Apple App Store or on Google Play. Finally, Ride On and Metrobus began their Courtesy Stop program this week. After 9 p.m., the Courtesy Stop program will let riders request to be dropped off at any point along a regular bus route, in addition to designated bus stops. Allowing Ride On and WMATA buses to drop off passengers in between bus stops will help reduce the pedestrians walking on roads during evening hours when it's tougher to see them. I appreciate MCDOT and WMATA for enacting this common sense safety program. For more information about our transportation developments, please visit montgomerycountymd.gov/DOT. I've been talking about the rent stabilization bill currently at the council for a few weeks now. As I mentioned last week, I support the compromise that was voted out of committee that holds rent increases to inflation plus 3%, capped at 6%. Although I prefer holding increases to inflation only, this compromise is much better than the original bill that would have allowed rent increases of inflation plus 8% with no cap, which frankly is quite ridiculous. How ridiculous? Over the past few months, when people have been furious about inflation, it would have taken an inflation rate of 6% and allowed rent increases of 14%. What could have happened under the original bill is that landlords could actually be encouraged to raise rents over 10%. No one is regularly getting 10% raises in their income. So how can anybody afford these rent increases? With the public generally concerned about rising inflation, it's hard to rationalize justifying automatic rent increases that vastly exceed inflation, which the original version of this bill would allow. This bill does allow landlords to get larger rent increases if their actual costs exceed the guidelines, or if they're doing major capital improvements. In other words, if the guidelines don't cover their costs, this bill protects them. Also, this law would not apply to the first 15 years of a new building's existence. So landlords are free to set the price of rent wherever they want to for 15 years. Hardly a disincentive to investment. This week, I attended a celebration with the tenants of the Westchester West Apartments in Aspen Hill. Tenants in this 345-unit building have been facing increased rents and were concerned that the new buyer would increase them even more, placing a financial hardship on many of the families that would have forced them to move. We used our right of first refusal to purchase this building and then sold it to Enterprise, an affordable housing developer, and they have agreed to keep this property affordable and these tenants in their homes. I want to again appreciate the tenants who spoke up and the Action in Montgomery, who actually worked with them and brought it to our attention. And I want to thank Enterprise for their willingness to work with us to make this project possible. This project's an example that you don't have to accept a bad situation, and I hope the tenant advocacy will inspire others to do the same. Our housing protection strategies are currently inadequate. Too often when affordable housing apartment buildings are bought, rents are increased and current inhabitants are priced out. If we're going to solve our affordable housing problems, we must get serious and use everything in our toolbox, including our right of first refusal, to intervene whenever possible in similar transactions that will price the current residents out. Preserving and producing affordable housing is critical, but we must also protect affordable housing wherever and whenever it is threatened. For more information on affordable housing efforts, please visit montgomerycountymd.gov/DHCA. Stable living conditions are important for families and children, both for their physical and mental health. Equally important is access to quality medical care. This month, the Healthy Babies Equity Act became law. This is important because it ensures medical coverage to pregnant women regardless of their immigration status, if they're eligible for Medicaid or the Maryland Children's Health Program. Under the Healthy Babies Initiative, applicants will be eligible for the same Medicaid benefits package available to other pregnant individuals, including physical and behavioral health services, as well as dental and prescription drug coverage with no copays. Applicants will receive 4 months of postpartum coverage. Maryland Medicaid may also assist in covering health care expenses incurred during pregnancy or the 4-month postpartum period in the 3 months prior to the application. Maryland is now the 17th state that allows this sort of coverage to the estimated 6,000 non-citizen pregnant people who will qualify in our state. This is a common sense effort, and it's long overdue. I support this initiative in Annapolis, and I thank the governor and our county state delegation for getting this benefit enacted this year. Substandard maternal and newborn medical health care has long-term consequences and drives inequities in health outcomes. The National Bureau of Economic Research study noted, expanding prenatal Medicaid eligibility to undocumented immigrants may have a significant impact on the health and economic outcomes of the next generation of Americans. This is an important benefit change, but now our task is to make sure that we find and get our qualified applicants to apply for the benefit. There are 2 upcoming Healthy Babies Equity Act sign-up days to assist pregnant women to enroll in the Maryland Medical Program. The first one is this Saturday, July 8th, from 8:30 to 3 p.m. in Silver Spring. And the second is Saturday, July 15th, from 8:30 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. at 12,900 Middlebrook Road in Germantown. Last week, I attended the groundbreaking for a new 6th District County Police Station in Gaithersburg. This new building continues my commitment to reducing greenhouse gas emissions, so I'm excited to announce that this will be the county's first renewable energy design building when it opens in 2025. It will have its own solar-powered microgrid, so if the electricity goes out because of a storm or power failure, the staff will be able to continue operations without any interruption in service to the community. It also has a community room for local residents and organizations, which will help MCPD with community outreach and become more engaged and connected with the people they serve in the 6th District. I also want to recognize our first responders and our Good Samaritan who went above and beyond the call of duty to try to save someone from a possible suicide. On Friday, we honored Montgomery County Police Officer Michael Chinbloom. Officer Chinbloom risked his life by jumping into Cabin John Creek to save a woman who had reportedly jumped off a bridge near the Beltway in Bethesda last month. Montgomery County Fire and Rescue arrived on the scene as officers began to search the area for Officer Chinbloom and the victim. Officer Chinbloom called out to Fire and Rescue for help, but rescue crews couldn't get to her since they were on the opposite side of the creek. A Good Samaritan from Virginia named Tyrone Robinson, who had also jumped into the creek to try to save the woman, assisted the officer in trying to help the woman move her across the creek. Both he and Officer Chinbloom were able to carry the victim to the fire and rescue workers on the other side of the shore. But unfortunately, despite their heroism to try to save someone in dire need, the woman later died. I want to thank Officer Chinbloom, along with Sergeant David Hall, Officer John Chabala, Fire Inspector Rich Cavey, as well as Tyrone Robinson for their efforts to save a life and serve their community. Their willingness to sacrifice their own safety to save a life of another defined heroism. This weekend, Crossvines opens. This is a very big deal. Located in Poolesville, Crossvines is a dining and golf destination, event space, custom crush facility, research farm, and learning hub all in one. The facility is an educational space for farmers and students learning about agriculture. And I'm particularly excited that Crossvines is working with Montgomery College to develop a new generation of winemakers. Though grapes and winemaking offer a high-value crop to farmers, it can take 3 to 5 years to produce a full crop of grapes after vines are planted. Equipment necessary for crushing grapes and making wine can add $1 million or more to a project. The crush pad we built is intended to be a community resource that will enable farmers who grow grapes to use Crossvines as a facility to destem and crush the grapes and then process the liquid for its final destination in a wine bottle. A couple of weeks ago, I attended opening ceremonies at Crossvines. It was exciting to see the realization of an effort that began 10 years ago when I first proposed an operational structure that would avoid the problems that had risen elsewhere with similar facilities. The increase in potential income of farmers from the opening of this facility to help ensure the viability of the agricultural reserve in Montgomery County reinforces the importance of creating the agricultural reserve in the first place. This facility will reduce the cost of entering the winemaking business, allowing farmers to begin growing and then using Crossvines to process the grapes until they grow to the point that they can buy their own equipment. This is already an incentive to provide grapes for winemakers in Maryland because they are required to use Maryland grapes in our state before buying them from elsewhere. This weekend's opening is great news for the community of Poolesville, the county's farm industry, and our tourism economy. Please consider checking out this facility as soon as possible. For more information, please visit crossvines.com. That's it for now. I hope you have a wonderful weekend and talk to you again next week.